I'm Matt from the Pickleball Clinic, and this is our review of the most anticipated paddle release in pickleball history, the Yola Perseus and Yola Scorpeus. Over a year since Yola first took the pickleball world by storm with their first line of paddles, Yola has now brought to us two brand new paddle lines, the Perseus and the Scorpeus. The Perseus is a new Ben John signature paddle, and the Scorpeus line has two more signature paddles, with the 16mm being a Colin John signature and the 14mm the Anna Bright signature. Both the Perseus and the Scorpeus come in 16mm and 14mm variants and bring some brand new, game-changing technology to create extremely well-balanced paddles. All of these paddles are thermoformed with a one-piece construction, which has become the new standard in pickleball technology over the past several months. This creates a very powerful paddle with great access to spin, but it doesn't sacrifice the touch and control that we need to get the ball in the kitchen. To start off with some specs, the Perseus is going to be our elongated paddle shape, coming in at 16.5 inches in length, a width of 7.5 inches, and a grip length of 5.5 inches, which is great for two-handed backhands, which has become very dominant in this game. The Scorpeus comes in at 16 inches in length, 8 inches in width, and a grip length of 5.25 inches. So this paddle is a little bit shorter and a little bit wider, gives us a bit of a bigger sweet spot, but a little bit less reach. These paddles also bring some unique technology that really makes them stand out. Both the Perseus and the Scorpeus have the carbon friction surface, which is the same surface that the original Ben John's Hyperion had, but it's now reinforced with charged carbon surface technology, which essentially strengthens the surface of the paddle so that we get even more feedback from the ball without sacrificing power. We also have a reactive polymer core, which is specifically designed for high-level players in order to maximize the consistency of the bounce across the entire paddle face, as well as the same Hyperfoam Edge Wall that we had on the original Hyperion, which is foam that's injected into the edge of the paddle to widen the sweet spot and dampen off-center hits. What I love about all these paddles is they offer an impressive blend of power and spin without sacrificing soft touch and control. These paddles are all thermoformed, so that's all the new rage with paddle technology with brands such as Legacy and Vatic Pro. You get a ton of pop with these paddles, but you still get a lot of soft touch. So when I was getting into hand fights, I felt like I was winning tons of them because my counterattacks and my speed ups came off the paddle much harder. But on my dinks, drops, and other soft shots, I still was able to find the kitchen and maintain that soft touch. And I think that blend of touch and control with power and spin is what makes these paddles really impressive and really fitting for my game. The Perseus is a little bit longer. It's got a longer handle, and the entire frame of the paddle is about ½ an inch longer. So I liked it more because I have a two-handed backhand and I have a nice backhand flick. So I was able to reach a little bit further into the kitchen, and I had room for both my hands to fit on the handle. I felt like the Scorpeus had a little bit of a wider sweet spot, but a bit of a shorter frame, so I wasn't able to reach quite as far into the kitchen on my shots. But that being said, the wider sweet spot gave me a ton of forgiveness on resets and off-center hits that normally might go into the net with my Hyperion or the Perseus, but I was able to get them right back into the kitchen with the Scorpeus just because it had that wider sweet spot. All of these paddles come in a 16mm and a 14mm variant. So whether you're somebody that likes soft touch and control or needs a little bit of extra pop, these paddles have a little bit of everything for you. I found the 16mm paddles were definitely softer. There was a marked difference between the 16mm Perseus and the 14mm Perseus and the 16mm Scorpeus and the 14mm Scorpeus. If you want a little bit more pop and spin, the 14mm is definitely the way to go, but I did notice I sacrificed a little bit of control with the thinner paddle. For me, I like to play with the thicker paddles, but I also have more of a defensive game. I like my resets, I like my drops. I don't feel like I need the extra pop quite as much because I'm not hitting a ton of speed ups and drives. If you're someone that thrives in the fast game, I think the 14mm is definitely the way to go. Either way, both these paddles are going to be game changing for you, but if you're someone that wants to prioritize touch and control, go with the 16mm. If you're someone that thrives on power and spin, go with the 14mm. Both these paddles can take your game to the next level. But for choosing between the Perseus and the Scorpeus, in my opinion, it's going to come down to personal preference in terms of the shape. Both paddles felt very similar when you hit the ball in the sweet spot, and they have the same technology in them. The Perseus is a little bit longer, so it's ideal for two-handed backhands or those of you that like to either reach into the kitchen or play a lot of singles. If you're mainly a doubles player, have a one-handed backhand, or don't need the extra reach and would prefer a wider sweet spot, the Scorpeus is probably the way to go. Either way, you can't go wrong with these paddles. They are awesome. The great combination of power, spin, control, and touch and feel is unparalleled, and they will absolutely take your game to the next level.